Welcome back, everybody, to the Minecraft Short Stories podcast. In this episode today, this episode is episode 71. I will be reading the part 2 for The Player's Not Alone, which is my newest story. And you can listen to part 1. It was the previous episode, episode 70. So quickly listen to that. And if you've already listened to that but kind of forget what's happening, there'll be a short recap. So this is part 2, and then this story is quite long. It's 2,000 plus words. One of the longest stories ever read on this podcast, which I seem to be constantly breaking that record every episode now, which I don't know why that is. I guess the stories have progressively gone longer for some reason. Anyways, this is the part 2, and there will be more parts after this. I cannot quite promise that I will write those parts, but this story is not the conclusion to the overall story. And then also, I'm going on a vacation tomorrow as of recording this, so there will not be an episode for a little while longer. It's a 10-day vacation, so it's going to be a little bit before I get an episode out. For the same reason, there will not be a prologue episode quite yet. I'll make that when I get home. But in the last few days, I released another prologue episode I converted Aesop's Fables into Minecraft. So I go over all of those. It's a pretty funny episode. I think that you should check that one out. The link to the Patreon is down below. And with no further ado, let's get right into it. So I'll just summarize this really quickly. A player spawns into a new world, and as they gather materials such as wood and stone, they experience random lag surges for no reason as they're doing this. And then after they cross the desert in which they spawned, they find a good place to begin making their house. But suddenly, the entire forest erupts into flames around them. And within this forest fire, the player can see trees without trunks and other such strange things. This is part 2 of The Player is Not Alone by me, Callum Ellis. I had no way forward. In Minecraft, a game famous for its infinite possibilities, I could do nothing. The forest was still burning, sending multitudes of gray, opaque smoke into the sky. My game was still frozen, my vision locked onto the sight of the flames consuming the blocky landscape. The forest was almost gone, and along with it, any semblance of normalcy this world once held. I tried not to jump to conclusions, but there is nothing native to Minecraft that could have caused this. Something, or someone, was at work. As the forest continued to burn, I reflected upon what I had experienced. An inconceivable spawn, unaccounted for lag, and a forest fire that had erupted into existence. These mysteries were like mismatched puzzle pieces. Even if you fit them together, the resulting image wouldn't make any sense. I didn't know what to believe. The lag could have been my computer's fault. It isn't exactly new. The fire could have resulted from the lava pit I left unattended, and the trunkless trees could have been a fluke caused by the fire. It seemed silly to think that was some entity that had an interest in me. Even if this was an entity, I didn't have to stay in this world. I could have closed Minecraft or worked on the homework I'd been putting off. These were options, but I wanted to get to the bottom of this mystery. The forest gave off a sense of ominous anticipation, and I felt that if I took my eyes off it for a second, something would happen. I wasn't scared, even in the midst of these unrelenting questions. Sitting in the chair in front of my desk, I was detached from the Minecraft world. I knew I could close Minecraft at any time, or take a screenshot with a click of F2. That reminded me. I said rather half-heartedly as I started a screen recording of Minecraft. It had always bothered me when these people online, who had apparently witnessed an inconceivable entity in Minecraft, never bothered to tape it. Now, at least, I could have a record if anything similar happened to me. For my world, what stirred the most anxiety in me was the signs of life. The missing trunks of the trees made me uncomfortable, and I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Missing wood from trees seemed to always be the first sign of habitation, for entities such as Herobrine or Null. Entity or not, spending the night roaming this forest with the chance of one of those things in my world was impossible. I needed to find shelter. I was exposed as I stood motionless on the hilltop where I was originally paralyzed with lag. The spots where I stood offered no protection from searching eyes, and I could easily imagine something lurking in the woods, watching me. I had a bed in my inventory, and would place it once I had confirmed, to the best of my ability, that no entity's gaze was upon me. I would place the bed once the sun had set. As the dying light from the sun shrouded the smoking remains of my forest in darkness, my eyes caught a motion different from the dying flames. I automatically flicked my eyes over to it, and caught sight of what could only be a figure, obscured by darkness, ducking out of view behind a tree. My heart immediately started to beat faster. I burst into motion, running as fast as I could to try and confront the spectator. This can't be happening, I yelled inwardly. Almost all of my fear was replaced with thrill as I raced towards the results of my anticipation. My flight's haphazardness did me more harm than good, though. 50 blocks from the wildfire's wreckage, I plummeted into one of the deep sinkholes that occasionally mar Minecraft's landscape. Almost frantically, I began trying to tower back up the walls, but my quick pace continued to do me harm. The entire climb upwards, my spirit sank lower. It was a full half minute before I reached the surface. I continued my sprint to the oak tree where the specter had vanished, and began searching for any sign of what I knew I had seen. Nothing revealed itself. The entity had escaped and left nothing except a forest fire, I assume the creature had started the fire, some missing trunks, and a very confused player. Even my second, more in-depth search yielded nothing. The sun was completely down, and I knew finding any evidence was hopeless. After searching farther in the dark woods for another minute or two, I set my bed down, resigned but oddly satisfied, and entered it. The woods were dark, and Minecraft's lack of friendly ambience was ominous as my screen darkened. I was on edge from this day's experience, and the silence was sinister. I fully expected to drift to sleep and suddenly see the face of a mysterious figure appear looking down at me. My finger stayed taut on the mouse, the cursor hovering over the leave bed button, until it disappeared. Luckily for my heart, future enjoyment of the game, and real-life sleep, nothing appeared. I don't know what I would have done if something had shown up. I like to think I would have pursued the entity and gotten bulletproof evidence of its existence, but more likely I would have just fallen over backwards in my chair. After the handful of seconds it took for the Minecraft night to pass, I woke up. My longing for ambient sounds in the game, such as rustling leaves, the chirping of birds, maybe even the howling of wolves at night, was only heightened by waking up to dead silence. I mined my bed and prepared to spend the entire day searching. A couple of hapless chickens met their end by the blade of my sword. I felt a little bad as I ate my cooked chicken. I had noticed, coincidentally, that chicken was the only food I was consuming. The chickens probably thought of me as some kind of serial killer. Anyways, with my player now having a full hunger bar, worryingly I still had no armor, I began my search. I had planned to first investigate the land around and underneath the oak tree, then slowly work my way farther into the woods, making sure to miss nothing. I began. After 15 minutes of searching, I knew it was hopeless. All I uncovered were a few more trunk-deprived trees and no entities. This thing must need a lot of wood, I noted aloud after finding another eviscerated tree. Whether this creature needed the wood, or whether it only took it to terrify me, was an important question. I have a lot of important questions right now. I stopped my search momentarily to tally my total of destroyed trees found. I had found 9 oak and 4 birch. For future reference, I wrote down the number. Unfortunately, there appeared to be no connection between wood types and deforestation. My doubt reappeared, and I regretted ever letting it disappear. What are you thinking? I asked myself. This figure I had seen could have just been a zombie. I thought back. From the brief glimpse I had caught, the figure's shirt was blue, the same shade as Minecraft's water, and it was a very different shade from the color of his zombie shirt. A thought popped into my head, and I jumped on it. What if this was only a mod's doing? I checked my Minecraft mods folder. Opening it up, I realized a fatal flaw in my theory. I wasn't playing a modded installation. It wouldn't matter if a mod was present because the game wouldn't have loaded it. Checking anyway, I found no mods present in the folder. I made the difficult decision to close Minecraft for a time. I needed to sort out what was happening, and I didn't want to reenact what I had read so many times. Almost every encounter goes as follows. A player finds a mysterious entity, falls for a lame trap, or gets inexplicably insta-killed, and then, of course, the world is deleted. I needed to gather information and then compose a plan from what I learned, making sure to avoid all the common pitfalls. A lot of work for a 7th grader. I started as all great plan makers begin, by grabbing a blank sheet of paper. I split it into 3 sections: what other players do, what I should do, and what has already happened. Dramatically cracking my knuckles, I opened up Google Chrome and started on the first category. Reading Minecraft players' posts on the internet can be grueling work. The amount of labor required goes up as the use of grammar goes down, but it is also a goldmine for Minecraft entity encounters. After a bit of searching, I found a couple. One user reported an encounter with a player-shaped entity that had all black skin except for minimal purple highlights. They didn't provide any screenshots, but from what they described, the creature looked like an armored alien. This player's story began with a normal spawn. They then did normal Minecraft things. Drop down trees, find ores, build a house out of planks, etc. The point of this post was realized when, after having been away from their house gathering resources, they came back to discover the wooden house was on fire and all their stored items gone. Took my eyes off the screen to write down, no flammable houses. Searching the wreckage, all this Minecraft player found was a sign sitting in the center of their house. On it was written, "Hope is no more, surrender." This user spent a long time staring at the sign and wondering what it meant. Suddenly, an entity of all black and purple came up behind them, and they were instantly slain. The last they saw of that world was the black and purple figure standing over them. Their world was deleted. With the story completed, I turned to my paper and added the notes, "Don't stare at signs too long," and "Backup world." I found another story and dove into it. This one told the tale of a player who found more than they desired while looting an ocean monument. Their narrative began with an account of their continued search for this rare temple. After finally finding one, they downed a water-breathing potion and began the dangerous swim towards the monument. They had to dodge the lasers shot by the ocean monument's guardians, and suffer through the mining fatigue effect. After much struggle, the player reached the vast underwater labyrinth. This user searched the structure until they started hearing a strange wailing growling sound. After following the sound for a few minutes, and consuming another water-breathing potion, they came to a room shrouded in darkness. This darkness was completely unnatural. The underwater lanterns lit all the other corridors, but the illumination could not pierce this. Making their way in, they couldn't see anything. Suddenly, the players started taking damage. Their hearts were quickly depleted, and they died without ever finding out what was hiding in the darkness. I wrote down, "Bring a light source, don't follow strange noises, and don't go into strange places without preparation." I finished writing down these points and dropped my pencil onto my desk. I scanned what I had gathered. After reading through it a few times and trying to tackle the problem from multiple different angles, I was getting nowhere. I was excited to begin composing a plan, but I forced myself to first note down all of the relevant information regarding my world's irregularities. Writing it out, I slowly began to realize something. The lag hadn't been random. The lag had only occurred while I had been doing something. The game ran perfectly fine in any other instance. There had to be a connection. My first thought was, what if this lag is the fault of my computer? Perhaps Minecraft is demanding enough that if I do anything even slightly more intensive, the computer can't handle it. And the forest fire causing so much slowdown was explained by this. What I couldn't get past was that this had never happened to me before. In every other Minecraft playthrough, my game ran completely fine. Perhaps this was the entity's doing? I finished my recap and put down my pencil. Before me, I had two sets of data. One was all the information I had, another was the information others had. It seemed like I could almost combine them and know what to do. Staring at my sheet of paper, trying to fit them together, I suddenly realized I was growing tired of this game. Not Minecraft, of course, but whatever game this entity had involved me in. I had restarted my Minecraft playthrough to begin anew, and this creature was rehashing what I had already read so many times before. It would follow the same timeline as all the others. First some sightings, then some griefings, and finally my player would be killed and the world deleted. Catching it on video or finding out what it wanted never stopped it. With a feeling that was almost like electricity in my veins, I remembered something. I had been taking a screen recording when I saw the creature in my world. I had it. I had proof whether this was a zombie, my imagination, or my computer. Returning to my computer, I located the file where the recording was stored. Opening up the folder, I found it empty. I started to panic a little bit. Had the entity somehow infected my computer? Another second later, I remembered that the screen recording had to be finished for it to be accessible. Pressing the necessary keys to stop the tape, I watched, relieved, as the screen recording popped into the folder. I opened it up before I could start worrying once more about corrupted files. I had started the recording as the forest was still aflame, so I wouldn't have to wait too long. Thinking ahead, I opened it up inside a video editor so I could slow down the recording and reverse it. I clicked play. It was all I had seen before. The real revelation was when the figure appeared. The second I saw the blue-clothed entity, I paused the video. With the thing now immobile on my screen, I could gather more details. It was the exact shape of a player, and I got the impression that the arms were the thicker ones of Steve. This player was 30 plus blocks away, so I couldn't make out any more details besides that. Looking at the figure watching me, I got a strong sense of unease. Something about this felt wrong. Zooming in on the frame, I immediately learned why. It was me. My player's skin, my tools, my leather helmet. It was me. End of part 2. Bum bum bum. Thank you all for listening to part 2 of The Player's Not Alone. Part 3 or 4 may be coming out soon. If 4, then this means that this would be the first story to ever get more than 3 parts on the podcast. And the story definitely does look like it's shaping up to be a 3+ part story. So I'm planning on writing those. And then also just a quick update about the Patreon. I added a new perk to all of the tiers above the base tier. And the optional perk is that you can just contact me on Patreon. You can just use this to maybe get some feedback for your stories, ask questions, or give me story ideas. I'm always willing to hear you guys' story ideas. So anyway, just wanted to let you know, if I didn't say before, links in the description for the YouTube channel, the website, the Patreon, that's about it. Anyways, I do hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hope you'll join me for the next one. And I'll see you guys inside the next episode.